gonna believe this. The guy blowing donuts in the parking lot just started dragging in dolls. One by one. Looks like he's moving in.
Sounds like our next suspect, Wendy. Grab him a hand truck and clear a path. I'll cue the record. You keep an eye on the count.
At this rate, I'll need a head count form.
Forget the paperwork. We'll file it under case file, Rebel Drifter.
Dame's doll secrets to detect. It's the name you trust, the doll detective.
Some suspects roll into town with a suitcase full of secrets. Others, they drift in with style, leaving tire marks on the asphalt and a trail of doll boxes in the rear view. Case File 010 brings us a man who straddles two worlds, cosplay and collectors, drifting and dolls. He goes by Rebel Drifter, and he's no stranger to the spotlight. On YouTube, he unboxes dolls like a magician pulling rabbits from hats. His cosplay and creative spins rack up eyeballs faster than a neon sign in a midnight alley. But behind the lights and lenses, there's more to this case. Who is Rebel Drifter when the camera's off? What drives a man to merge dolls, fandom, and community into something bigger than the sum of its parts? Tonight, we open the file, dust off the evidence, and follow the tracks of a man whose name says it all. Welcome to the Interrogation Room, Case File, Rebel Drifter.
Thank you for having me, Detective. Really nice to be here and can't wait to get the questions going.
Easy there, Rebel. Buckle up. This ride's got more curves than a back alley detour at midnight. So tell me, what was your first turn down the dollmaker's highway?
That's actually a pretty difficult one because it branches out in multiple paths. So let me get started with the first thing, right? When I was really young and still living with my parents, I saw a specific MTV Cribs episode, which is pretty crazy if you ask me. And I saw a rapper there who had a real doll standing in his studio. So I saw that and I was like, damn, that's really cool to have like a female person standing in your booth. Now, granted, I've never had a booth or anything regarding my music making that I ever did. But, you know, that's where it started to spark a little bit of interest. And the fun thing is, after I got together with my wife, she's actually my partner in crime sometimes, we went to a specific marketplace area and I saw a doll for sale. And I told her, like, you know, you already knew that I wanted this when I watched that MTV Cribs episode. How would you think if I would just buy that and see what that's like? So she said, okay, it's fine. I'll come with you. And the fun thing is I had contact with that person who was selling the doll. And he said, well, I have this doll. I probably used it once or twice, but now I have a girlfriend. She's coming over tomorrow and I need the doll gone ASAP. So if you can come tonight, that will be perfect. So my wife and I, or girlfriend then, we went into the car. We drove almost 2.5 hours because it was all the way up north in the Netherlands where I live. And we bought that doll very cheaply. And we said to each other, it's funny that we have that, but is it really our thing? I don't know. So eventually I sold it to somebody in Germany and we actually made a profit. So that was actually kind of the gateway drug. Like, okay, first of all, these things look really cool. This might not have been the perfect design for me regarding how that woman looked, the doll. But we did make bang for the buck, we got some money going. So we thought, well, maybe we can go further into that. And then after that, I started looking into, for example, the first brand that I had was a Mecha doll. I don't know if you know that brand by any chance.
Sure, Rebel. I don't own one, but I'm aware of the brand.
They were actually in the States and in France. They had their company. And they eventually sold me a doll, which was a Lilu, if I'm not mistaken, or a Lilo, it was called. But the problem is I got that in for a discounted price and then the arm broke off. So from there, I got into contact with people on the doll forum. I sold that lady to somebody in the UK. That person still had contact with me, repaired it, and he was actually very happy with the doll. And then from there, everything spiraled out of control. Like I needed to get something from gaming because, you know, you have the company that's called Game Lady that started making all these ladies from computer games or video games. And that's something I thought was really cool. So from there, everything stepped up. And now we're here on YouTube being Rebel Drifter and unboxing ladies for the public to see, because it's very important to let people know how is the packaging, how is the doll in real life when you pack it out, you know, when you get it out of the box. Did they use Photoshop? Did they use AI? Is it really as advertised? And hence, here we are.
Well, that's one way to pop the clutch. Every journey's got its first burnout. Yours just happened to leave tread marks all over the doll district. And credit where it's due. Not every drifter's got a partner in crime willing to ride shotgun from the very start. Sounds like your wife's as solid as the engine keeping you on the road. Rebel Drifter. Sounds like a fella who can't stay parked in one place for long. So tell me, what's under the hood of that name? A race and stripe from the past, or just the perfect fit for the ride you're on now?
Now Rebel Drifter, but I used to be Lycan Strife, which is my artist name for doing rapping. Yes, I used to do a little bit of rapping in English. Had some collaborations here and there, but never really got successful. That wasn't my goal. So after that, I thought, well, we should change the name of my YouTube channel, because I already started YouTube like way back when it almost started. I was part of YouTube. And everybody came to me and said, what the hell is your name? We can't pronounce that. So I was like, okay, Lycan is from the movie Underworld, where you have Lycans, which are werewolves, and I love wolves. And Strife is the last name from Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. So that's the combination right there. So that didn't work, because everybody started, you know, calling me Lyson or something like that. And I was like, no, F that. We're not going to do that. So then it started to go into Drift Wolf Gaming, because I really love drifting. I used to do skateboarding for almost 11 years. My body can't handle that anymore because I have some problems. Long story short, I went over to drifting. So we started Drift Wolf Gaming, did a lot more gaming back in the day. That really never had a big success, because that market is just so widespread. Everybody does it. And I don't think I'm the best streamer out there at all, or the best YouTuber for that fact. But, you know, Drift Wolf Gaming was at least something that you could pronounce a little bit better. DWG, very easy to do. But since the gaming kind of had a backseat right now, and we did a lot more with the ladies, you know, we started to go to Rebel Drifter. I pressed my cards for when I do drifting, and I also film on the track where I drift. So the card says, I do weird shit and drifting videos, Rebel Drifter. And Rebel is, of course, coming from the Rebel Alliance from Star Wars. So I kind of took that into my own. And the card is also pretty funny, that I have right in front of me with my email address on there, but also a naked Princess Leia, which I think was pretty funny. So whenever, people ask me about that, Rebel is from the Rebel Alliance and Drifter is just because I drift. And, being a little bit rebellious, that's something like the aspect of the ladies, it's pretty rebellious if you ask me. YouTube gives me a lot of crap for uploading half naked ladies and all that stuff. It's very difficult to get by, but that's pretty much the story of how the name came together.
Well, now, that explains the rebel part. Blasters, starships, and a galaxy far, far away. But throw in a naked Princess Leia, and suddenly this case file's got a whole new set of classified images. I'll make a note. Intergalactic rebellion laced with a little sci-fi seduction. Not a bad origin story. Every origin's just the prologue. At some point you shifted gears, from just a fan cruising the fandom lanes to a man with boxes stacked high, cracking them open for the world to see. When did dolls stop being background scenery and become a passion worth unboxing, worth sharing, worth drifting into the spotlight?
Yeah, I kind of pointed that out a little bit in one of the first questions. I think it's really important for people that spend their hard-earned money on ladies that cost close to like $4,000 or $5,000 to see what it's like when you get them at your doorstep. So besides the whole fact that they're being made in China or maybe sometimes even Japan or a different country, and then being shipped overseas, being that you live in the States or in Europe, I personally think, and it's my goal to get as many brands on my channel as I can, and also sometimes in collaboration with a vendor, which is pretty cool, is to show people how the doll gets to me because I live in Europe. It has multiple stops in between regarding shipping. And, couriers are a-holes, to say it nicely. And, you don't always know what you're going to get regarding damage on the box and all that stuff. So it kind of actually started a little bit first with trying to address brands and tell them how to pack it better regarding, for example, neck damage. So the video that I have on my YouTube channel regarding the unboxing of Tifa, the game lady doll, actually almost has 2 million views. It's on 1.8 million views, if I'm not mistaken, right now. And that one got really successful. And the funny thing is, it's all out of the eyes of the beholder for regarding how did it came here. And, seeing as AI also stepping up so much and people still use a little bit of like Photoshop or specific lighting tricks or, whatever, how they can make specific glamour shots. I really want to show the viewer, this is what you're going to spend your money on, and this is how it's going to come in. And gradually I started rolling into that a little bit more because at first I started paying for ladies that I just wanted to have myself. I think I started a while back with unboxing. The first ladies were a Pipe Dream lady, I think, which is an American company. They discounted me heavily for the first one. And then I think the second one is actually one that I bought myself because I thought they were really cool looking. And from there, everything started to snowball. But it took a little bit of time because, you're trying to make contact with, for example, the Chinese brands. And the language barrier is still a big thing. Not every representative from a brand knows English that well. So sometimes they throw in people that know how to talk English very well. And, it's always a blast to talk with brands. But yeah, long story short, that's just pretty much the thing. I think it's really important to show the viewer how the doll comes in and how it looks in real life, because pictures only say like maybe 40 or 50% of the story of how the lady is being, made or presented.
You're dead on, Rebel. These dolls aren't chump change. They're an investment. And the vendors who get it right, they don't just throw out glamour shots dripping in studio lights. They put the factory photos side by side, raw and honest, so a buyer knows exactly what's walking through their door. I'll tell you straight, I love seeing those factory sets in the description. It's the closest thing to truth serum this business has, and it builds trust where smoke and mirrors usually run the show. And speaking of truth, Rebel, let me ask you this. Did the passion creep in slow, mile after mile, until you realized you'd already crossed the state line? And what was your goal with this?
You make everything sound so nice, but I see myself as a super big dumbass, and everything just, comes in my path with how it's supposed to go. So I thought, well, this feels right. Let me just do it. I have no shame. I mean, my wife and I have been together for more than 20 years. I know what we can expect from each other. And, she actually likes the ladies themselves. So I just started doing that, and she was fine with it. So as long as there isn't any animosity in the relationship, is good. And I always like the craftsmanship. That's something I always branch out to. If people ask me, like, why do you have these things at home and everything? I always liked having action figures or dressing up, like not in a weird way, but if you have fantasies like being Spider-Man for real or being Batman in real life or whatever, you don't have to go so far into getting so far in having the costume and or being that person and have that whole mantra. I also like just looking everything from out the outside. So, for example, if I play a video game, we're playing Skate right now on my channel, which is something that, of course, I love. I used to skateboard for 10 or 11 years, and, drifting is cool too. But with skateboarding, you at least can see your character. So I like to choose a female character, have sliders for her chest area and her butt area, and just make her look like, like a little bit of a fantasy girl, not like having my wife not be that, because my wife is my everything. But, it's cool to have something that you can design and or cosplay yourself at your own home. So to make it even worse, when people come over, like everybody already knows about me and my ladies that I have, like my family, my friends. And sure, there are friends at first who get like a little bit weirded out, but for me, it's all about the craftsmanship. You can see how cool something is being made. You can see how the future is getting shaped with how they now start to make softer silicone, which is like pretty much just as soft as TPE and stronger. And, I'm along for that whole ride. I just love everything about it. But, dressing them up and putting them on display right next to my PC work area, that's pretty much the goal that I had for having the ladies.
Dressing them up, putting them on display. That's not just collecting. That's staging the evidence like a pro. But collections have a funny way of getting out of hand. I blinked once, and my place turned into an evidence locker. Closets groaning with toys, dolls stacking up like unsolved cases. These days, I'm practically on a schedule. One new doll a month, like clockwork. And don't pretend it hasn't happened to you, folks. The collecting bug bites hard. So tell me, Rebel, when did your harmless little hobby switch from a side street cruise to a full-blown convoy?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually don't really have a definitive answer for that. I think I let myself lead my life / decisions in life kind of through a gut feeling. If something feels right and you fall in love with it just because you like the craftsmanship or how it's been, advertised, and you think, oh, that's so cool to have. Like, for example, I can give you a specific, well, not necessarily a story, but it's an example. Like, people buy, how do you call them? Big statues, like busts or very big statues from, like, example, Batman or somebody else from a movie or a video game. But that statue is static. You can't do anything with it. And at least when you buy a female or a male doll, to say the least, you can pose them, you can put clothes on, they look realistic, they feel realistic. And if you really want to get naughty with them, there's that choice too. And there's also, of course, that aspect for people who are older or younger, have problems with dating, have severe loneliness or whatever. This is also a good way to have something next to you and either, take it with you to bed, to cuddle with it, do other stuff with it, or just have in your room like me and look at it because you just like how it's been crafted. I think that's the only valid answer I can give you. It's just the pure craftsmanship. Just like you, I had specific toys when I was growing up, and I understand that you collect specific toys, and I would do the same if I didn't have these ladies at my house, because my wife also said it's either that and you need to get rid of most, or if not all of your toys, or you're going to go back to the toy stuff. I used to have all those Turtles, Ghostbusters, Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command from back in the day, Marshall Bravestar, you call it, all those super cool cartoons. But, a lot of stuff got stolen when my parents got divorced, when we were living in an apartment. A lot of stuff got sold. I need to make room for it. And if you already have a drift car like me as well, so you're busy with tires and rims and all that stuff, you just don't have space anymore. You need to cut stuff from your life. So, that's why I'm mainly now focused on the ladies as well. If I didn't do that, I probably would have, just like you, an insane toy collection, which would be pretty epic.
So the toys had to clear out so the dolls could move in. Sounds like you had to choose between a Death Star hangar full of toys or a Rebel base packed with dolls. And I've seen how you've handled the case files, Rebel. Every unboxing, every reveal. I'll tip my fedora. I'm a fan, seen them all. But here's the real question. When you're behind that camera, Do you see yourself more as an educator laying out the facts or an entertainer keeping the crowd hooked?
Yeah, I think both, to be quite fair. Like I said, it's really important for me to see, to let the people see how it comes in and how it's unboxed. And that's why I also show my face, because, I want to let people see that I consider myself a dumbass. I just do everything the way that I feel I should. And it could be a lot more flashier, especially with the times now, with everything that you can do in editing software and everything. But I just want to have everything pretty much bare bones, and also have the experience of me unboxing it and having an honest conversation, even though the viewer doesn't say anything back right then, because of course I edit stuff, but I do show people the damage and eventually how something really looks. And sometimes you get in comments where people say, oh, it doesn't look like the picture at all or anything. Sure, that's fine. That's your opinion. Most people that go into the dolls kind of always understand how certain things work, but I'm really trying to help people understand that this is just how it is. And, if you have complaints, then you need to go to the brands or whatever. But there's not much I can do about it except me just unboxing it and trying to be as real as possible as I can be. And, well, entertaining, that's probably taste. I don't think I'm entertaining at all, maybe in this podcast, because you send good questions my way, and I hope people enjoy that. But if I look at myself regarding the videos that I make, and then also, start editing, I kind of get really, bummed out with myself. I don't like listening to myself a lot. But entertaining, I have no clue. You tell me if I'm entertaining or not. I personally don't think so.
Honest and raw, that's the rebel way. No slick edits, no Hollywood smoke and mirrors, just you, a box, and the truth. And judging by your following, the crowd eats it up like a midnight diner special. You're not just entertaining, you're keeping folks coming back for seconds. So tell me, Rebel, since you started drifting down this YouTube road, have there been any moments that really revved your engine? Times when fans dropped a line that made you grin, or left you thinking, yeah, this is why I do it?
I do think it's really cool when there are brands that I've not heard about reach out to me because of the videos that I make. What I also like to hear is people that have maybe extreme loneliness, but I don't know if that's a word, but people who are extremely lonely and then just, confide in me unboxing a lady, or, well, we don't have men yet on our channel. Maybe that will come in the future. But, but as for now, I still personally like the ladies myself. But, if there are people who are helped by that, it's just really nice to hear, especially because, it's just not a very cheap thing to buy. Like toys, they are pretty easy to, stall and put in your closet or leave it in the box and save them. With dolls, that's just a whole different question, or a different way of life when you have them in your house. There are people out there as well who probably have like a torso or something small, and they may even like put them in the closet when people come over, or they're ashamed to tell their family or whatever. And I'm like, just embrace it. It's something that you think is cool, and just do like I do. I'm not saying that I'm the best in what I'm doing, but I just love it so much because I like everything about it, the whole design. I like the people that I meet on the doll forum and all that stuff. So yeah, the only thing that I could really comment on your question is, I should have to look at the comments that I have on my video. But the people that feel helped that's something that I really do it for. And, making friends along the way, like you and other people who also like this whole area, that's something that I feel I'm blessed with. There is a lot of hate too. There are people like telling me in the comments like, oh, you live at your mom's basement and you can't get a girlfriend and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, I got elephant skin. I couldn't give two shits, to be quite fair. I don't know if we can cuss, but I couldn't care less. I'm here for the people that see this positively. And, I don't know if I can shout out somebody, but a while back, just I think now a week ago or just a couple of days ago, I actually ran into somebody who found me through Discord now, or we found each other through the forums on, I think, TDF. And we used to be on the Real Doll forum, and then it turned into a paid forum, but that's like a whole story for another show. And this dude, he looked me up, and we started talking again. And it was like, oh, damn, I really miss this dude. We did have some conversations back in the day, but that's years ago. That's just what I love. And you don't always have to be a person that's like completely into the dolls or have 30 dolls at home or just have one or just, you're a person who's looking for it. As long as I can help with something of that, I think I'm golden.
I get that, Rebel. Those moments when someone says your work actually helped them, that's more fuel in the tank than any ad revenue ever could be. I feel the same with my listeners. The thoughtful comments keep me lacing up the trench coat and turning on the mic. Makes the road a little less lonely.
I have a lovely wife who really supports me in everything that I do. And if I didn't have her or my other sponsors regarding drifting and all that stuff, I would be freaking nowhere. And, people like you who get my story out, I would be freaking nowhere if it wasn't for you and the sponsors and everybody else who actually saw me and, acknowledged me for who I am and what I do.
Well, partner, the road's never driven alone. Truth is, it's people like you that make this show possible. Without guests willing to crack open their stories, and without the folks tuning in week after week, the Interrogation Room would just be me, an empty desk, and a cold cup of coffee. I'll tell you, Rebel, my favorite moments are bookends. That first gasp when the box opens and the doll sees daylight for the first time. And then that final shot when she's all dressed, posed, and looking like she belongs in the spotlight. Those beats are pure gold to me. But what about you, partner? When you roll film, what's the moment that really does it for you? The first glimpse, the final reveal, or something else entirely?
But that's difficult because you can't get away on YouTube with showing everything. I think they're getting a little bit more lenient. So maybe I might sneak in some things that I want to talk about right now, which I think are very exciting. So the first thing, which you already mentioned yourself, is opening the box. And sure, you've looked at the pictures of the brand, or maybe you've seen factory photos from the brand or through a buyer on TDF or whatever, that always, just getting it yourself always gets me excited. I'm very, very greedy when it comes to these things. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just love to see how it looks. So my responses on video are pretty much always 100% genuine. And that's what I like about the unboxing for myself. I like the honestness and then, of course, seeing what you get. But I myself, I have to tell this right now on air, I am a breast man. So, Lara Croft, my wife has the hourglass figure of Lara Croft, and she has a pretty booming chest, if I can say so myself. Her butt is getting a little bit bigger, so I like that too, but I'm not much of a butt person myself. But I have now in my possession 2 or 3 branded dolls that have really aggressive and amazing jiggle physics.
Say what?
Jiggle physics.
Thought I had heard it all, so it's jiggle physics?
Jiggle physics. And that's something that I really, really, really like. I can't stress that enough. So first, of course, like you said, opening up the box, amazing. You're going to get blown away by what you see. It's just really cool how the design is. But then afterwards, when you indeed put them in specific clothing, like for example, the IDO or the I Do doll that I have is standing right next to me in the corner in her GTA 6 bikini cosplay. Her chest physics are just amazing. And, even going back to video games, if there's chest jiggle physics in a video game, I'm sold. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's not going to be a super long answer, but, got to be open and honest here. So that's what I am.
Jiggle physics, huh? That's Exhibit A in every case file I've ever mishandled. The jury doesn't deliberate. They just nod in rhythm, motion sustained. So, Rebel, if the gavel was in your hand, what kind of dolls or characters would you bring to life next?
All right, so that's a difficult question regarding portrait rights because you can't really say I would like this or that regarding real human beings. But I actually now, when I'm starting talking about it, I think about there are two actresses that I really, really like regarding their looks. And one of them is Margot Robbie. She would be, a perfect Harley Quinn. And I know there are already busts out there that you can buy with like a one-to-one replica with how she is in real life, or how she has that makeup on from Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squad movies and all that stuff. Or, for example, Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, ScarJo, but preferably when she didn't use her breast augmentation to make the stuff a little bit smaller. I know that sounds maybe a little bit, bad or negative, but I don't mean it that way. Like I said in the previous question, I am a breast man. So yeah, I liked how she looked when she didn't change anything about herself. So those are two real life persons or people that I would like to see in doll form. The cool thing is we have the Anne Hathaway. I'm doing the parentheses right next to the microphone if I'm saying that correctly. We have the Anne Hathaway Catwoman lookalike / replica. It's not a one-to-one. They did that on purpose. They also gave her blue eyes instead of brown eyes because, they wanted to keep everything safe, which I completely understand. But having her as a Catwoman and then also using the AI video stuff afterwards, that really tickles my fancy. I think that's really freaking cool to see. And, it's not like you want to go do something with that footage in the bedroom, if I want to say it like that. But, I think it's just cool that that is possible. But regarding video game characters, that's really difficult. The fun thing is, an old friend of mine actually challenged me. I said to him something when we were gaming on Rainbow Six Siege. You probably have heard of that game. Maybe you even played it. And I said, "Oh, we got a lot of females in this game. Let me start a video." I said jokingly, like, I'll try to make a video series where I make a beat, a music beat, an instrumental beat on my MPC, my drum computer. And then we need to have some footage of the lady in question that we want to put in that video. So this friend of mine said, "Bet, do it." And I'm like, crap, now I got to do it. It's my dumbass ideas that I just throw out there because I'm such a big blabbermouth, but whatever, here goes. So even before the dolls that came in, I had that whole series with the Rainbow Six Siege women with the instrumental, and then a friend of mine playing one of the girls and me just following that girl throughout the level and, ducking down, standing up, laying on the ground, trying to move like seductive with the bum area and all that stuff. We had a lot of fun doing that. So it would be pretty cool if we could get some Rainbow Six Siege chicks in real life as well, because we can deck them out with like guns, armor, helmets and all that stuff. That would be pretty cool too. Like a while back, there was a vendor that asked me if I wanted to unbox a male dude. And I was like, I'm not for men. I like men as friends, but I have nothing with men outside of that. I used to have a classroom full of women. I was together with one or two dudes. We were the only 2 or 3 dudes in that classroom, and the rest was all women. And that was the best time of my life because I just like women in general. It doesn't matter if people think I'm a pervert or not. I just like women. So the dude said on the vendor email, maybe we should unbox a male. And I was like, crap, should I do this? It's unfair if I don't do it because maybe I'll get some, female viewers who like this as well. And I don't want to stigmatize everything, only just putting it around the female. So I thought, well, if I then am able to choose a male doll, that would have been a specific brand. I don't remember which one because I looked at it for like 10 seconds, but he was dressed up as a Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece. And I was like, that could be pretty cool. Or have like a Rambo or an Arnold Schwarzenegger type dude in the corner with like big ass M4, M16 guns and stuff like that. That would have been nice. Or an M60. I don't know. There's too many choices. But like I said, regarding female, Black Widow and Margot Robbie are probably my top picks.
Catwoman in leather, Rainbow Six with guns, and then Rambo crashes the party. Sounds like one hell of a lineup. But let's cut through the smoke. What turns an unboxing from good to unforgettable?
Well, it's definitely not me because people are pretty much done with me in the video. I think most people only look at how they're unboxed. When I look at the graphs, they don't really care about the opening the box and letting me show them the accessories that comes with it, because they pretty much, every brand kind of does the same. But yeah, I don't know. I think honesty is still the biggest thing in an unboxing video, and eventually putting it up, showing that there's no damage, or if there is damage, is very important. And I think that separates me from maybe other people. That's why also my videos aren't that flashy, because like I said before, I want everything to be as real and down to earth as possible. And, not everybody is for that, but that's what my gut says that I need to do. And, that's how I'm rolling with it. So that's pretty much the answer right there, I think.
You keep your unboxings raw, unfiltered, no polish on the chrome, just the engine as it really runs. That's the kind of honesty this road needs. So tell me, Rebel, when you're cruising the lot of new releases, what features make you hit the brakes and stare? What gets your motor revving in the doll game these days?
Yes, I've heard of the specific vendor and or brand that are trying to incorporate the carbon fiber skeleton. But, I know because I'm a drifter, and even if I wasn't a drifter, cars, carbon fiber, skateboards from carbon fiber, or just carbon fiber parts for your car are hella expensive. I don't know if the kids still use that word hella, but I just did. And, carbon fiber is cool and all, and it makes it a little bit lighter, but, aluminum or aluminium is whoever says that word that way. It's cool too. I mean, for me personally, I think they should focus more on their silicone mixture, is what they're already doing, because they already have that super soft silicone mixture. And like I said, I like the jiggle and the wiggle from everything.
I like the jiggle and wiggle too, Rebel.
This is going to be a no-brainer. Of course, you're going to go back to AI. I've had this Real Doll artificial intelligence head. It's going to get sold. It's going to go to somebody who's, I guess, a fan of my channel, which is pretty cool. I've pretty much weekly contact with this person. And that person already has one or two heads / bodies more, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And, we had that conversation too. There is just something about that head. Even though it was made in 2017, I think is when they started. I thought 2016, but around that time, nothing else has come close to having that specific facial expression, and also a sleeve that you can put inside the doll that has some sort of membrane or texture in there that if you put your finger in or something else, that the face reacts to that touch. There's nothing else like that on the market. Sure, we're going to get those AI robots with like really good facial expressions, but look at the price, So even though Real Doll never really did anything with me regarding my channel or did a collaboration or anything, I still commend them for what they did in the doll world regarding that whole AI thing, even though the AI aspect with the app was just crap. But I think, for me personally, that's something that I live towards. I said that to my wife too. I said, if there's going to be a head like the Real Doll head, where what has like the AI capabilities and blinks with their eyes, turns the neck around, and just has the mouth movement where it looks almost just as real as a real person, that would be so good. Just think about it. You don't even need to buy a body. You can just put a head on a headstand, put it next to your PC or your TV area or whatever. And if you just want to talk instead of to your dumbass phone that everybody does because we're all freaking zombies, you have a head with AI, and she can talk, and maybe you can start a connection with that AI or whatever. That will be pretty sick, in my opinion. That's the only thing that I'm looking forward to, and I know nothing actually. That's what I'm trying to say. That's your answer. I know nothing. I just let myself go on feelings, and we'll see where we go from there. Thank you. This was Rebel Drifter. I'll be here all night. Goodbye.
Yeah, I hear you, Rebel. I've seen some features that really caught my eye, too. Like that carbon fiber skeleton Nianta's been rolling out, or XT Doll's so-called reverse thrust upgrade. That's the kind of engineering that makes a detective take notes. The first doll's always a big one. You're excited, impatient, can't stand the wait. By the third, the thrill's still there, but the nerves settle. The waiting gets easier, and the hunt changes. Now you're not just buying a doll, you're shopping sharp, zeroing in on exactly what you want, no more, no less.
Fully agree. It's really about how you look at it. Like if you start off first, like you just said, and you have this wild fantasy in your head, oh, I'm going to have this lady of my dreams or whatever. Or in my case, like, oh, I'm going to have this person or this doll that looks like somebody I saw on TV, which I think is really cool. You know, your heart skips a beat. You get all giddy and all that stuff. And then you get that in and you just don't understand what you're seeing right now. I don't know. I still think that there are a lot of people that also overthink the whole thing about buying a doll and maybe see everything through rose-colored glasses when they're ordering, and then, you know, don't do enough research, or maybe have too high of a, how do you say that? Not an explanation, too high of an
expectation.
Yeah, expectation. God damn it. There you go. For Jesus Christ. So I think that's, you know, for people or for a person like me who already has so many of these ladies in here, you know, I couldn't care less. I already know kind of what I can expect. And I look at the factory photos, or I look at people who already bought it, or I go somewhere else to find out information. And, you know, that's a part that you have to do. But if you're just a person who knows nothing, has money to spend, and just wants to just throw it over, you know, the balcony or whatever, and wanted to get that thing as quickly as possible in your house, and you might get, you know, a little bit sad in your face if you don't see what you thought you had in your mind when you were running around in your fantasy world. You know, it's not rocket science. Sometimes something looks too good to be true. 9 out of 10 times it is too good to be true. Cliche, yep. But still.
Those rose-colored glasses don't come off right away. Sometimes you ride that honeymoon high for miles before the shine fades. But once it does, you start noticing the details under the hood. So tell me, Rebel, what is it you like most about your dolls when you really take them out for a spin?
I always try to make something out of nothing. Even if there's like a lady that doesn't look cosplay-ish, I could always try to, you know, get some clothing. I mean, sure, the IDO doll that I have, or the I Do doll, I always pronounce it wrong, but I always say IDO. She doesn't like look one-to-one replica regarding the GTA 6 girl, but I thought, you know, she has the hair, she has the appearance, she has those fuller lips. I'm just going to buy the GTA 6 bikini, put that on her, and, you know, see if we can make some AI videos and just do the display spin turn thing and all that stuff. And that worked out pretty well. So I'm actually really happy with that. I couldn't care less about the views going on. I just wanted that for myself. So yeah, I think that's pretty much your answer right there. They need to have good breast physics, because that's just what I like a lot, especially with the droop when you have like a bikini or a specific sports bra on or whatever. And, you know, another example, I have the real lady chick upstairs, which is probably one of the more expensive / premium quality ladies that I have, just like the IDO doll and the MMX doll, which is the Catwoman. You know, I made the real lady doll into Power Girl and also Sue Storm from the Marvel Rivals video game. I thought that turned out pretty good as well. And, you know, that's something that I really, really like to do. That always makes me very happy if I'm able to have a specific idea in my brain and then try to work that out. You know, you're gonna have to do a lot of research, because not all the clothing should fit instantly, especially onesies, you know, all that stuff, because the brands sometimes make the body, how do I explain that? From, let's say, the Adam's apple or just the neck area towards the crotch area, it's sometimes a lot more petite or less stretched out than it should be regarding clothing. So clothing is still a very difficult part in my life regarding the ladies. But a bikini in this case for the IDO doll, that's easy peasy. You just put a bikini around her, you adjust that with the straps or the rope, and you're pretty much done. But that's something that I really, really love.
I'll admit it. I like it when the ride's easy peasy too. No grinding gears, no fuss. And let's be straight, not every doll's about companionship. Some are built to be admired, parked like a showpiece, Would you say your dolls are companions or art?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, I got my wife. I'm still trying to, use her as a shield. Like, hey, I've been together with her for more than 20 years now. We just got married. Well, not really married. We actually, signed a piece of paper that we officially, are each other's partner. And if one of us dies or whatever, we need to get that stuff sorted. All that crap. But no, I always saw the ladies as not as much as a toy, because toys you can play with, but I just, I like statues, but I don't like statues in the way that I already told you about, where they're just static. I like, if you spend a lot of money on something, that it should be movable. And I think that the ladies that I own right now are just placeholders for my joy that I will experience whenever a walking, well, not much walking, but more of a talking head, for example, a moving and talking head with AI is going to be in there. That's something that I think is really cool. You got to imagine that I'm stuck at home with my whole stuff going on, which I talked to you about in private. And my wife is pretty much working day in, day out from early in the morning till dinner time. So I am alone. And I've made a sport out of this. There are people that always compliment me, which is going to sound arrogant maybe again, but I mean this in a positive and in a neutral way. Like, people come to me and they say, so you've been alone for X amount of years and you always find something to do? I applaud that. I have always something to do. When I wake up, even if the alarm clock goes at 6:45 in the morning, one time I snooze a little bit more for like maybe half an hour or something like that. Also depends on my mood and my body, how it's resting or not. But most of the time, I always have shit to do. I can research so much. I have so many interests, and the ladies do take a lot of time in my life regarding that. But, it's something that keeps me busy, and that's why I love them so much. So, it's also just pastime for me as well. And you don't have to be exclusive or naughty with one of the ladies, and vendors or brands that collaborate with me and send me certain things to showcase. For example, we had the lady with the moving tongue. I think that's super interesting. Am I going to do anything with that? Yeah, I could probably do some maybe magic tricks, or I don't know, make her eat a banana or whatever and make a funny video out of that. But just the fact that you can have these things and show them to the world, and try to break the taboo and show how the the whole progression of everything is going. That's super interesting to me, and that's something that I think will never change.
Fair point, Rebel. Unless you're pulling rabbits out of hats or teaching her to peel a banana, those beauties are best left on display. But you've cracked open at least 15 cases by now. Tell me, is there one unboxing moment that still sticks in your rear view, something unforgettable?
Oh, that's also very difficult, because pretty much all the ladies have like a specific soft spot in my heart, because I think, again, I'm just so in love with the craftsmanship and how the Chinese and, the brands and everybody, just how they get everything going and how they make it and then send it over here. So yeah, for example, the latest one that we had was a lady, of course, with the moving tongue. I thought that was really interesting, because I thought this is probably not going to work. And I already saw videos of how it worked, and I thought this is probably just going to blow up in my face and it's not going to do anything for my video. But that was really funny and interesting to see. That make me laugh like really loud, because it's not like it looks stupid. I understand where it comes from and what they need to do with that if somebody wants to put their genitals in there, and it probably worked very well. But I think it's just really, really funny that that's possible, and that I had the experience to see that for myself. But one of the experience that stands with me the most is a lady, a sales rep from Real Lady. Her name was Pei Jun Lin. I really hope I'm not putting her on the spot, but she since then left already from a Real Lady. She wanted to go, I think, if I'm not mistaken, to Australia. She was going to move and do some other stuff with her life, which I, of course, adored in her. But we had such cool conversations. Just a person from a brand that just wants to talk to you and, get something done regarding a video. I think that's actually even more memorable than just me unboxing a lady and be happy with how she looks or what kind of extra, movement or things she has. I mean, again, that's more for the viewer than it is for me, even though I still like that. But I personally had so much fun talking to Paige and Lynn regarding the real lady. And of course, the whole Power Girl build that I did, and then the tan lines that they made for me on that body. That's something that that did really make me very happy. So I think it's the combination of that, having the tan lines, because they really did that for me, and then of course the sales rep having such cool communication with me, something that I still hold dear to my heart to this day. I will never forget that name of her, because she was super sweet. And there are more sales rep people that are super sweet and really good in English and really know how to make you feel at home.
I get it, Rebel. Sometimes the sales reps can charm you harder than the dolls themselves. I've had my fair share of favorite reps, too. I've networked with You Lover's doll, High Love doll, even Silicon Wives. And Mary from High Love doll? I love her. She is such a sweetheart. But hey, that's one of the cool perks of this job. I end up learning more from vendors and these podcasts than I ever bargained for. So tell me, Rebel, what's it been like sliding deeper into the doll community? Friendly pit stop or wild ride?
Oh, well, I think it doesn't actually do anybody justice with how the community sometimes is portrayed, because, outsiders are looking from the outside in, and they don't really understand what's going on. But for me, I was first very a lone wolf. I was lurking on forums. I was trying to get some information. We had some TPE dolls back in the day. You then inadvertently cause a stain because you use leather or maybe like a black top or whatever. You get stains on there. What do? You don't go to the brand. You don't go to the vendor. No. Not back in the day. You go to the forums. That's where people talk about certain things. And that's where you hear about an anti-acne cream that actually subtracts or gets the stuff out of the TPE to get everything nice and white again, or whatever the color of your doll may be. That's insane. Like, the community is so good. Sure, you might have some people who are either jealous or hating on you for certain things, or maybe you have a specific outlook on anything, but that's the world. That's just the times that we live in. It's easy to be a keyboard warrior, but to me personally, the forums, a TDF and, Rosemary Doll, now the forums and stuff like that, it really works wonders. I actually it's gone so far that I don't know people, but people know me. They look me up on the forum and they say, I heard of this brand. Have you heard of it? And I'm like, nope, I'm too busy with filming and doing other things. I'm sorry for that. Well, I send them an email and, maybe they could look into you. And like, dude, I really appreciate that. I don't ask for that kind of stuff, but it's really cool that happens. And it's not just that aspect, talking about myself being lucky like that. Even before that, when I wasn't as known, again, the parentheses right next to me, the whole forum always makes you feel welcome. It doesn't matter what kind of itch you have. If you're super into dolls and you just want to, have a whole doll whorehouse in your, house, whatever, or you want to rent them out, or you want yourself to go over them, or you have problems with your wife, or your wife is is not able to have sex with you or whatever. There are so many use case scenarios, and sure, I'm not the one who goes into the forum areas where I need to talk to people how they're doing everything in bed. But if I need like tips or any information, I can always find somebody. So what I'm trying to say is, even if you're just starting in getting into dolls, or you're just looking at them and you haven't even started without thinking, or we're thinking about buying them, or you're like a veteran, like somebody else who has 30 or 50 dolls, there's always something to find on the forums and always new friends to meet, which I think is really freaking cool. The community is really something outside of this world, if you ask me.
Rebel, I gotta tip my fedora to you. The community's been nothing short of a gold mine. On Instagram, I call my followers informants, 'cause that's what they are. Sharp eyes, sharper knowledge, always sliding me tips to keep the case alive. The forums, YouTube, all of it. This scene's got more heart than half the city combined. And you, pal? I'm not just the guy behind the desk. I'm a fan. Appreciate you parking yourself in the interrogation room tonight, even if you had to wheel in your entire collection of dolls just to make your point. Don't worry, I'll file 'em under evidence. So tell me, Rebel, before I close this file, you got any last words for the record?
So I always say this in Dutch, and I always say I have to translate it. Life is too short to constantly think about certain things and how they're going to end up. Sometimes you just need to make the leap. I think this sounds very cliche. In Dutch, it's actually a little bit shorter. But, you just got to do certain things in life that make you happy. And if you don't try it, you don't know if you're going to be happy. So, for example, if there are people who are like in the closet regarding doll ownership or don't know if they want to make the plunge to buy something, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get disappointed. Look at the community, look at the brands, look at the vendors, look out how clear the communication is. If there's a better time, I don't think so. I think the better time is now. You need to just go buy yourself a honey or a dude, and you're going to see how it's going to change your world. Even if you don't want to do something intimate with it, or with her, or with him, or vice versa, you do want to do that. It's really going to be just really dope. I think it's really funny that if you look at a specific show, for example, you probably know this dude as well. Dave, that's a show about a rapper. Most of you probably know him. He was actually in a relationship with a girl in that show, and he was, having intercourse with her, and apparently I think she was already getting done, or there was something going on. I don't remember it completely, but then he whips out I think it's a TPE, or it's a silicone butt area with legs attached. So kind of like a torso, but not completely, just the underside of a woman. And he starts humping that, and I'm like laughing hysterically. I'm like, oh my God, this dude has this inside his house. We're not that far off. Famous people do this too. But you got to understand, that's just a show. That's how it's been written by, Kevin Hart or Dave himself. But you're not that far off, You're going to see so much more of this stuff coming into the media, or maybe into your house soon. You don't know. All I'm saying is don't be scared. The world is already a scary place with how it is, with all the hate and all the violence and everything going on. You deserve to be happy. Do something crazy for once. Fuck it. That's what I always say.
Fuck it, he says. Buy a doll, live the story, join the crowd. And you know what? He's not wrong. Dolls ain't hiding in the shadows anymore. They're stepping into the mainstream, one unboxing at a time. Tonight, Rebel and I drifted down every back alley in the district, from first buys and rose-colored glasses to the thrill of unsealing a crate, to the art of display, and even the fine science of jiggle physics.
Jiggle physics.
That's the case, closed but not forgotten. Rebel, thanks for taking the hot seat, and for hauling in every last dame from your house. You've got quite the lineup. This has been the Interrogation Room, badge on the desk, mic cooling off. Until next time, keep your alibis tight and your dolls tighter. Thanks, partner.
Thank you for having me, Detective.
Mic switch is right there, Rebel. Yeah, flip it off when you're done. But hold up. I still can't believe you dragged every one of your dolls into this tiny interrogation room. What is this, a parade? I count, 20? And don't look now, but I think one of my microphones just disappeared into your dolls. Hey, let's just call it evidence. Seriously, Rebel, what possessed you to bring the whole harem in here? I asked for an interview, not a family reunion.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was going to be a party, so I invited all of them,
A party? Buddy, this ain't Mardi Gras. It's the interrogation room. Only thing we're tossing around here are questions, not beads. I think I'll sneak out the back door and leave you to it. Maybe take your car for a spin.
Yeah, I wish you good luck. I'm gonna be here till the next morning because it's gotta take all these ladies back in the boxes, and it's gonna be like 20 plus. So either you help me or I'm out, and I'm gonna do this all by myself.
Ah, hell. Hand me that game lady doll. I'll start packing.
Thank you very much. You're so kind.
Case closed. Lights out.
Rebel walks in with a spark in his eye. Says these dolls got moves you can't deny. Every sway, every bounce makes my heart sing. Yeah, the jiggle and the wiggle, it's a physics thing.
The jiggle and the wiggle, it's a physics thing. The wiggle and the jiggle makes rebels sing. It's the jiggle and the wiggle, it's a physics thing. The wiggle and the jiggle makes rebels sing.
He's a boob man and loves it when they bounce. All that moving makes him wanna pounce. Collectors cheer, fans join the fling. It's the jiggle and the wiggle, yeah, the physics thing.
The jiggle and the wiggle, it's a physics thing. The wiggle and the jiggle makes rebels sing. It's the jiggle and the wiggle, it's a physics thing. The wiggle and the jiggle makes rebels sing.
My name is Rebel Drifter. I like my dolls thick. The jiggle and the wiggle, man, you know it's sick. To all the vendors and manufacturers too. I've opened them all, this is a shout out to you. Now I'm spitting bars with my detective friend, talking dolls in the nights that never end. Fuck it, by a doll, that's the line I bring. Cause the jiggle and the wiggle, it's a physics thing.
Say the jiggle and the wiggle, it's a physics thing. The wiggle and the jiggle makes rebels sing. It's the jiggle and the wiggle, it's a physics thing. The wiggle and the jiggle makes rebels sing.
So pour another drink, let the record spin slow. The dolls keep dancing long after we go. It's the jiggle and the wiggle, that physics swing. Case closed, baby, that's the whole damn thing.